You ask, why are you thinking of selling? Well, I just need to get the money out. Did you know that you could possibly get 80 cents on the dollar through a refinance, hold that property, get the second property, you just build it, you just created wealth and built your portfolio by holding on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DHomerRealestate podcast, season 2, episode 2. We have a special guest. But before we get into it, if you like, comment, subscribe, download, write a review, leave a 5-star, anything to help the algorithm. To help people see this podcast and watch it grow. Again, as I mentioned, we have a special guest, the king of real estate content creation. This individual is a Toronto native from Rexdale, to be exact. That's what I like. He's been in the sales industry for over 26 years, and then soon decided to go into real estate. He funded the REC Canada under Royal LePage for over 5 years. He is a top realtor, and he has a team that is well over 50, as well as 11 supporting staff. Again, this individual is an author, the founder of From the Ground Up Media, and truly an inspiration to me and many. So I want to say thank you. And the person I'm talking about is none other than Jas Takhar. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, DeAndre. Thank you for that intro. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
A couple of things. Number one, you said Toronto, and then you mentioned Rexdale. It's just funny as I was driving up here because the border of Woodbridge and Rexdale is like literally a stone throw away, right? And so I drove past the old Texas pit there that just unfortunately closed down. Used to do a lot of breakfasts there. But also I wanted to give a quick shout out to any of my colleagues and listeners and viewers that are coming to learn about you. Like, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, give my man some love wherever you're watching and listening, because I see how much work he's putting in. Like, it's really cool to walk up into your studio/office and see all the equipment that you got. Like, and you know what? And you're doing it all on your own right now, right? Yeah. Like, I just can't wait to see when I come back here in 6 months, 4 years, whenever that time is, because I know it's just going to grow because I see the passion, I hear the passion. And so congratulations to you for getting started. But any of my guys that are watching and yours that probably have seen the podcast, but they haven't yet subscribed to it, right?
Yeah,
like,
right?
Are you on video format as well?
Absolutely.
Are you on YouTube? Like,
yes, sir.
See the guy's face. You know what I mean? So if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, go jump over to YouTube, click that. And then I don't think you're charging people, right? I just want to make sure.
Not yet.
But there's always a fee. And you know what I always like to say, DeAndre, is the fee is if he's bringing you any value, make sure you share it with a friend. That's it. Just one person.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying? Just one person, share it, because guys putting in the work. And I love your sign here, work until you don't have to introduce yourself. I love that, man, because I can see you're putting in the work.
I appreciate it. Now, it's a tradition of the DHomerRealestate podcast to start off with icebreaker questions.
Okay.
So it's only a few questions. You don't have to worry about it too much. But I just want to get to know you a little bit more, as well as my listeners, to get to know you better.
Love it.
So the first question is, where would you say is your favorite vacation spot?
My favorite vacation spot is probably Turks and Caicos.
Oh, really? And why?
I love the water there. It was like I stayed in a resort called Turquoise, right? But the water really was that color. It was probably the best body of water. Now, I haven't traveled a lot. I like to kind of work. It's my hobby.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick a place, it would be Turks and Caicos. The food off the resort, very safe. Not a lot of people know about Turks and Caicos because Oprah, Jay-Z, Jordan, and the list goes on and on. They all own like private homes there. There's a lot of Canadians that are there as well. Yeah. But yeah, I would say Turks and Caicos.
Awesome. I've never been. I would definitely add that to the list for sure. Now, the second question is, what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
To think bigger. Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. I wish I took more risks when I was like, I'm 40 years old now. I wish at the age of 23 and 27, I took bigger risks, because at the end of the day, what I've come to learn now is it might not have worked out, but I would have learned a lot more, right? I think there was some reservations around taking bigger risks. My father, anybody knows my backstory. My father was a taxi driver his whole life. My mother, a factory worker, right? Yeah. Saw them kind of pinch pennies. And when you see that, you don't necessarily think that you can have more. more. Right now, don't get me wrong. I'm very grateful, very blessed to have the things I have, to have the crew that I have around me. Right. However, I wish I just thought bigger.
I get
right.
it.
And now, I mean, in the last 3-4 years, everything I do is think it like I'm just thinking bigger.
Absolutely.
Right. On the way here, the crew that's around me right now, we were talking about, all right, let's go get a bigger studio space right now. And first we started off with 500 square feet. We were like, what's 500 square feet? Let's go get 1,500 square feet. And now the 3 places we just came from to go look at were all 2,500 square feet. Right. And as we're thinking, oh my God, and there was a point like, what the heck are we going to do with this space? We just reminded ourselves, we'll fill this space. We always do. We always do. Because when we got our first 1,000 square foot place, we filled that thing up before we even took the keys.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because then more ideas start coming to you. So I would say think bigger.
I love it. I don't
know if it was supposed to be rapid fire at the start, but you know me, man. I like the sound of my own voice sometimes, you
know? Go. Now, the final question that I have is, what is the biggest lesson you've learned within the past 2 years?
The biggest lesson that I've learned in the past 2 years is that I need a team, like a bigger team around me, right? And you need people who are bought in, and that might mean that one of the people, Jas, my cinematographer, 22 years old, right now in his life, he wants to grow. He wants to start growing his team around him. He's 22 years old.
Love it.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and 2-3 days ago, he's talking to me about he's going to get his first a videographer under him. He's gonna train him. Okay. And then you know, I have someone like Steven, who's my creative director, and this guy's starting to really get a lot more bandwidth. Okay. In terms of doing more for my personal brand. And that's only happening because he's not doing some of the mundane stuff that he was doing. Right now, all of that, to answer your question, for me comes down to the fact that I need more people around me. Right. And maybe that's why I wasn't given the skills of typing and putting up, you know, cabinets and stuff like that, because I knew I always needed the help of people. Absolutely. Right. And so it's just cool to see, man. I think what I'm accomplishing right now is based on the crew that I have around me.
I love it.
Hands down.
I love it. And I love the fact that you always show appreciation to your crew. Like, again, I'm a fan, right?
Yeah, I
see all the podcasts. And one thing you do not forget is to shout out, you know, the people who have helped you grow. And it's amazing to see because, you know, I've come across leaders, because you are a leader, and they don't really give the supporting cast that they're flowers. So the fact they're able to do that is truly, truly inspiring. And I love to hear it.
I'm glad that you noticed. I have a lot of people who let me know how many times that I do talk about the team. There's no strategy around it. I never thought about it. It's just when people started asking me questions like you did, that's what pours out of me.
Absolutely.
Because like, I got my family, you know, I got wife, kids, parents, older brothers. And then I got like in a 5-kilometer radius where I live, brother, I got 100 blood relatives. So I got a lot of love I grew up with. You know what I mean? Like a lot of support in that sense. But my work family is like right underneath the importance of my 2 kids, my wife and my parents, you know, because these guys and these gals, like, you know, we did a 7-hour shoot, guys, on Saturday or something like that. Wow. We rented out a studio. We do a 7-hour shoot. And we were just talking, and I overheard them kind of talking to each other. It was a new photographer we brought on, as well as a makeup artist, and then a light engineer. Okay. And first time they met us, those 3 people. Okay. There was 4 of us in our team, and those 3 are telling each and every one of them, like, oh, you guys are so kind of cool. Like, you guys all, like, you know, you guys are friendly and you guys, you know, razz on each other. You make fun of each other. And then I think it was the photographer who said, yeah, but it seems like Jas gets the most of it. Right. And it's true. It's true, because I do most of the talking. I get made fun of the most. But what was happening is that I think it was maybe Laura or Jas, I can't remember. One of them was like, yeah, but Jas knows everything about us. Like, I know I need to take Steven for a rye and Coke when shit's not like going well for him, or if he's like a little edgy. You know, my boy Tyler, who's my right-hand guy in the sales organization. I can't take him for a rye and Coke because that doesn't work with him. He needs a walk. You know, our girl Laura, right? She needs a burger. Just who she is. Get her a Diet Coke, get her a burger. Right? Now, And then what happened, to bring it full circle, the photographer said, yeah, like, what do you do for Jas? And they all said, well, nothing really. But then Steven mentioned something that I still caught on to. He's like, yeah, but this is all for him.
Ooh.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like us being, and I sat back and I was like, shit, it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like neither one of them know. If I'm having a bad day, I don't really bring that to the office, but let's just say they know I'm off. They don't have any one thing on, like to say, let's go get Jas a drink or what it is. But you know what? Yeah, it's not that. You know what I mean? And God knows I love burgers too, right? But it's the fact that they're like wanting to come to this.
Yeah.
Like if I told someone on our team today that they couldn't come, like I told Parsa, for example, my assistant, that he wasn't going to be driving us today. And you can kind of just tell he was disappointed.
Like, oh man.
He's like, man, I kind of got some FOMO, man. I don't get to be in the car with Jas and Laura. Like that sucks, right? But I was like, yeah, Parsa, the next one you'll come, but we got a lot of work to do. We brought on a new team member.
Okay.
She needs training.
Yeah.
And so he was just all in. So yeah, man, I'm really standing on the shoulders of giants when it comes to my crew. And like one guy that I don't really talk about a lot, man, like really quickly, is my business partner in my real estate company, right? Like me and this guy have been together, Simos. Go check him out on YouTube and Instagram. He's on all the socials as well. Yep. Him and I have been through a lot of stuff together. We've had this real estate company now for coming up to 17 years.
Oh, wow.
But 4 years ago, both of us lost a mentor, an older brother, and a business partner, like all wrapped up into one, right? And then when you go through that with somebody, you really know how someone's going to react to hardship. Yeah. And that's my soldier, man. Like I love that guy. I love him. And without him, there's not a lot that I'm lucky because I get to do this stuff. I get to do a lot of the stuff with our clients where Simos handles our 54. So you mentioned the 54 agents, right? Myself, him, and the partner that passed away. We built that foundation. We built the structure. But now Simos is kind of like holding these guys accountable, and you're a real estate agent. I'm a real estate agent. We know we can be divas sometimes. You know what I mean? Like we need a little extra love here and there, but so that's Simos' job. So it's nice to see that he's doing his thing.
That's awesome. That's
what it comes down to. Sorry, like what it comes down to is that putting those people in the right place. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like I would never put Laura in the spot where she's going to be managing the agents. Why? Because she's not because she's not good at it. Because that's not her true passion. You know, when you're passionate about something and you're actually good at it, game over. Yeah. Because you're going to wake up that much earlier. You're going to go to sleep a little bit later. Yeah. And the one day it's like, it's only an extra 20 minutes here and there. It starts to compound. Right. So it's like Simos loves, we call him the hammer because he can be very aggressive in his tone sometimes. But agents need that. Yeah. Right. They need that when they're saying, okay, I want to make $100,000. I want to make whatever number it is. Yeah. But then it's like, okay, here's the blueprint. And when they don't do it, it's like Laura would be too soft on them. She cares too much. Like, not that he doesn't care, but like, she's not going to be hard on them.
Firm. Yeah. He's a little bit more firm.
She's not going to call them at 10:30. She goes to sleep at 8:30. You know what I'm saying? Like we know these things about our people. Right. Yeah. Right. And so even myself, I can be very soft sometimes with the agents. Cause I got a lot of like, okay, I know, okay, you can do this tomorrow. Yeah. Right. So yeah, it's just knowing the people. Steven, I know that he wants to just handle personal brand and he doesn't want to do all the graphics all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? My boy, Jas, he's been with me for coming up to a year. Feels like he's been with me for 10 years because I know him really well. Right. Yeah. But sometimes we have a little friction with each other. You know what I mean? Like Jas knows what I'm talking about. Like sometimes we have friction, but you know what? He knows it's an open space to come talk to me. Absolutely. But I also have that with him. Absolutely. Like he's my little brother. Like he's 22 years old, you know? And so somebody took me under their wing at the age of like 19, but then in real estate in 23. Yeah. And now I got all these younger people that I feel like I got to give back to. Absolutely. And again, I want to give you kudos because again, you take that time. Again, that's the biggest thing, be able to take that time to, you know, get to know people and be a mentor to others. So yeah, kudos to you. I think because I had so much of it in my life, it's so important for me now, right? Like I'm actually in my true passion when I'm mentoring somebody. Like I got a kid, Luke, 21, came as my came into my life as my assistant at 18, worked for free for 3 months. Yeah. 4 months maybe. He told me he would work for free for a year, but I told him, you're too good. Like I'm going to lose you. Start paying him for a year as an assistant. But I knew that this guy's going to be a sales guy. Like I just knew it. And having him, he actually left for about a 2-month period where he wanted to go on his own.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hold anyone back.
For sure.
Like as close as Jas is to me, as close as Laura is, as close as Tyler is. Like you want to leave?
Hear that, Jas?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You want to use me as a trampoline? I'm all about that.
For
right?
sure.
But when Luke left, like there was a little emptiness in me because I didn't have somebody to give my sales acumen, my sales salesmanship to, right? Like the other people that I mentioned, that they're not true, like they're not born bred salespeople.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Luke, he is.
Really?
He has the drive. He has the hunger. He has the skill set. He's learning it.
Yeah.
I needed someone that close to me, right? And so giving the time, like the extra call at night, the first call in the morning, it's not work to me, man. It really is a hobby. Like I think that's what I think people who see me on Instagram and on YouTube, I think that's what they have a tough time with me at times, is that they don't know if I'm working or playing. Because the truth is, I don't even know. Like, is this work? I get to talk to you. I get to see you for the first time. I get to meet with you face to face. I get to have the crew around. Like, it's just fun, man. When you can find that hobby, know that you can monetize it. Yeah, you can. Like, I know you're probably afraid that you're great at sewing, but you're caught up in a 9-to-5. How the heck am I going to make money sewing? Yeah. I promise you can. You just got to give it some time.
Absolutely. So now you touched on, first of all, that was a great introduction.
We're still in the introduction stage. I love that.
Scholars is an education center where we help students maximize their truest potential.
With more of that one-on-one focus, smaller class sizes, individual attention, doesn't matter your age, your grade, what subject you're in, Scholars has a program for you.
You mentioned sales. You're very big in sales. Again, you started sales way back but for those who don't know, like what was your introduction to sales?
Well, look, for me, I didn't know I was selling at this time, right? It was probably like as early as 6 and 7 years old.
Wow.
And what I mean by that is that I always had a way with my teachers. Like there's no way. If you look at some of the, like, especially like 11, 12, 14, 15, like if you look at some of the assignments I did, I don't think I should have passed. Like there wasn't a lot of effort put into them, but I had a way with the teachers. That started at 6. Like that, I just knew, it was the same thing. And I'm going to dig them up. On the report card, it was like, he just doesn't sit down, but he's such a joy to have in the class. Oh, you get what I'm saying? And it wasn't like I was like a class clown per se. It was just like, I needed to talk to people. You can tell, like anybody who's met me now for the first 7 minutes of doing this, right? So again, I didn't know I was selling, but I knew that I had a way with influencing people, right? And I actually think it's a massive responsibility. This skill set that I have, it could have went the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like, knock on wood, and I have no plans. It's never gone. Like, I haven't been sued for something. I haven't like ripped people off. It's not who I am because of my parents. Yeah, absolutely. Like I knew that I had this responsibility. There's nothing wrong with influencing people as long as you do it ethically. Absolutely. Don't lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? People think, and that's where salespeople have such a bad rap, right? Yeah. Like, it's like, you got to be sleazy. And the truth is, there is a lot of sleazy people, right? Yeah. Not only salespeople, there's sleazy everything people, right? I just chose that. Okay, look, at the age of 12, I started delivering newspapers. I get paid for it. I'm hooked. Awesome. I thought I was going to deliver newspapers my whole life. I didn't even know there was an idea. Like, all I wanted to do was that because I enjoyed it so much. But then, the first time I walked into a retail space in Sherway Garden Sporting Life was the store. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm not like, people are not only coming here to ask about, can I get a pair of 9.5 or 10 Nikes? They're actually asking, like, what is a better shoe? What's not a better shoe? So I also understood I'm going to be better in terms of educating someone if I educate myself first. Absolutely. So, like, till this day, we're going back, like, I'm 40, so I was 16, 15, so 25 years ago, I can tell you till this day, what's a good shoe for somebody, depending on how they walk and how they bend their knees, how much running are they doing? Should they be in an Asics, a Saucony, a Nike, New Balance? Like, I got
So
that.
you have that knowledge.
I still have that knowledge.
Yeah, that's
right?
awesome.
So now I go into the banking industry,
Mhm.
right? It's telephone banking.
Oh, okay.
That's where I learn the skills of phones. It's a completely different skill set when you're talking to selling and servicing somebody on the phones.
Mhm.
But then I learned these little things like, hey, Jas, do you mind if I put you on hold? Hey, Roger,
Yeah.
do you mind? Like, oh, thanks for holding.
Yeah.
Hey, DeAndre, can I address you by your first name?
Yeah.
Little things start to add up. People are like, oh my God, that's different. I've never
Care.
heard that. Oh my God, that's nice. Right? No, oh, like they start to open up a little bit more,
Yeah.
right? Asking questions,
Mhm.
open-ended questions, right? So what is it that you're trying to accomplish?
Mm.
Why are you thinking about selling?
Mm.
You know, like we get a call for somebody who wants to list their property. Great. What's your property and how much you thinking, like how much did you want for it?
Yeah.
Take a step back.
Exactly. You get to know them.
You get to know. Let's find out a little, like let's find out if what the motivation is here.
Mm.
Because 7 out of 10 times they shouldn't even be selling.
Mm.
Right? Like in real estate, and I know I'm going off on a bunch of tangents, but like you want to talk about true salesmanship, like you ask, why are you thinking of selling? Well, I just need to get the money out. Did you know that you could possibly get 80 cents on the dollar through a refinance, hold that property, get the second property, you just created wealth and built your portfolio by holding on.
Yeah.
Right. So asking questions. When I went into car sales, though, that was the big game changer for me, because that's the one that has the worst rap.
That's one of the questions I actually had for you. So like, why do you feel that car salesmen have such a bad rap? Because again, you mentioned that, you know, some people like who are in sales are very, you know, can be manipulative in some senses. But for car salesmen, for some reason, like they just get like the worst.
I don't know, maybe because of some movies or some TV shows like that used car salesman, right? I think a lot of people in that business and industry do lie. Right. And they have a small window with people. If you walk into a car showroom, completely different than real estate. When you walk into a car showroom, the salesperson knows that they get like an hour and a half window with you, max.
Yeah.
Right. With real estate, we don't expect somebody to buy right on the spot. So it's a little different.
Yeah.
But for me, knowing that it had a bad rap, I knew that the bar was set very low. So what did I do? I just did small things. You walked into the showroom and I wouldn't even say, can I help you? Because I know the brain automatically wants to go take the path of least resistance and say no. Yeah. So I would say, DeAndre, do me a favor, my man. There's 7 cars in this showroom. Take your time. I'm going to be in that corner right there. Call my name, yell my name. It's Jas, just like the music. Okay. Throw a piece of paper. I don't care what you do. When you have a question, you get a hold. You get my attention. Yeah. You know what that did to people? They're like, whoa, I was so intimidated walking into a showroom. Yeah. Right. Like, yes. You ever been to a car showroom yet? And did you feel a little intimidated? Yes. Yeah. See, like, because he knows these guys are going to try to take his money. So what do? You want to try to get rid of that and remove that friction as quickly as possible. Yeah. The reason I mentioned it was such a big change for me, because it was the first time I went into commission sales. Right? Like full commissions. I was at the bank and then Sporting Life, as I mentioned, that was all salaried stuff. Right. Yeah. So the big jump for me was when I went into car sales and I got to write my own check. Yeah. Like there was no ceiling. Right. I put a ceiling on myself, I feel, hence why I got into real estate. But yeah, man, like I think when you get into an industry like sales, know that the bar is set quite low. You don't have to do too much to wow people. Right. And it starts by asking a lot of questions.
I love that. Now, so would you say your love for, I guess, people and your genuineness, it was the thing that kind of enticed you to actually get into just the sales, like going through, again, sports?
Yeah. I think there was a mixture of stuff, right? Like, being born and raised in Rexdale, it's definitely not an area that you have a lot of people to look up to, but I was sheltered from it, right? My parents, really my 2 older brothers, my father and mother worked a lot, but like told me they loved me every single day. But my brothers also took me out a lot, right? Okay. Like in terms of, especially the brother that, like my eldest brother, there's a 9-10 year gap between us. When he was 23 and I'm 13, I was hanging out with 23-year-olds. I think the first club I went into, I was probably like 14 years old. You know what I mean? Yeah. I come back and tell my homies, yo, man, I went to a club last night. And they're like, what? Like, and I'm kind of cool like that, right? Like, but you get to realize, like, when I turned 23, it was deja vu for me. Like, I was like, I heard these conversations. I saw what some of the struggles were. I saw where people were having thoughts about, oh my God, I went to school, but I'm not doing that job. Like all that stuff, right? I kind of already went through it through my brother. Right. So that was
cheat code.
It was 100%. Both my brothers were a cheat code because the other brother, the one that's just older than I am, 4 to 5 years difference, he really kept me sheltered from the streets.
Yeah.
Like he went through some bad stuff in his life. You know what I mean? And he just made sure I stayed away from it. Right. Like he was the disciplinarian for sure. Physically, verbally, he just didn't give a crap. You know what I mean? Love him, did not like him as much back then because as a 17-year-old, I wasn't able to do a lot of stuff, right? But God bless, because I stayed out of trouble. And that's why I always tell anybody who's like, I'm going to say 16 to like 22, 23, you got that age, like that time frame is the most important for you not to do something really bad. Yeah. Like I'm talking about getting caught with 10 kilos of cocaine or something, you know what I mean? or do something really, really bad. For sure. Because if you do that in that age gap, you're screwed for life, man. Like you're going to be inside jail for a lot. Like, so you got to make sure 16, 22, 23. Because once you get to 23, 24, I feel like
you kind of know yourself a little bit better.
You know yourself a little bit better. I don't want, you know what I mean? Yeah. Right. In fact, I like that there's a part of the brain that doesn't even get fully developed until the age of 18 or 19, I think it is, which is the part of the brain that actually knows right from wrong.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that. Actually.
Yeah. Right. And so imagine, you know, it's why I laugh. Like as a 16, 17-year-old, you got to make a decision about what you want to do as your major, you know, in school. Like what, man, I didn't know what the heck.
For the rest of your life.
I didn't know from my head from my ass at 16 years old. You know what I mean? The one thing that I kind of was lucky that I had this gift of gab or whatever you want to call it. And I did, coming back to your question, I really did enjoy people. Like I love, like, look at this room, right? Like, where are you from?
I'm from Rexdale too.
No, but and back home, like my parents, like what's your background?
My parents, so my mom is Jamaican and my dad's Guyanese.
Okay, really cool. I'm fully, like my parents born and raised here in Rexdale, but parents are Punjabi, right? Laura has a background, like Dutch background. Okay. Jas is from Morocco, right? My team is from all over the place. Like it's so cool to learn. And I think we had it really, really good in Rexdale. And Toronto specifically, like you want to go get German food, there's a little area that you can get some German food. You know what I mean? You want to get some jerk chicken and rice and peas with some oxtail gravy. There's a nice little area there. You know what I mean? I know the best spots, right? Yes, you want to get some Moroccan food. Not as many options as the others, but there's a little area that you can
something
get some, like some hard, like exactly what his mom cooks. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And so that about people is what excited me. My best friend, Sri Lankan, Chinese. Okay. Like all the guys that I kind of hung around with, Sri Lankan, Indian, Jamaican, Chinese, like the list goes on and on. You get to know about how like their backgrounds, you get to know what makes them tick and what doesn't. And so I think that love for people is what always, like it never scared me to knock on a door as a 12-year-old.
That's amazing.
Never, ever scared me.
That's amazing.
Well, why is that important? Because at the age of 40, now, there's not a conversation I'm scared to have.
Yeah, because you had them all already.
Like either that I had them or I just know that 98% of the stuff that you're worried about is built up in your own head. It's just a story you made up.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to knock on the door next door and find out directions, or I don't want to find out if they're thinking about buying or selling. Like, I don't really care. I'm going to do that because I also know, I don't know what's going to come out of there. I get the question all the time, like, yo, dude, why are you driving all the way to Woodbridge / like Rexdale to go do a podcast? Because I'm going to go meet this guy, DeAndre. I didn't even know that you watch my content. I knew nothing at all. Like, ask my team. We didn't even know. We didn't even know where the place was. We were kind of like just looking. You have to come out and get us. Why is that important? Because, like, where's this relationship going to go possibly, man?
Right?
You know what I mean? And somebody might think that we're competition, but no, the pie is so big. Like, you actually get so much more done with collaboration than you do about worrying about competition.
No, for sure. For sure. Now, again, you mentioned that I do watch your podcast and I watch your content. One of the biggest things, because I got introduced to you probably like a year and a half ago. And I was like, I guess I was just like stuck. I was like, you know what? Your energy is what really kept me. And I can't remember exactly which podcast it was, but you did mention that, you know, you used to say that you're from like Etobicoke. You didn't really mention Rexdale. And I was always curious to know, like, Why?
Yeah, that's a great question, buddy. I don't think I've had anybody ever asked me that, but definitely I've said that maybe in 7-8 podcasts, in tons of pieces of content. It was because I was afraid of them thinking negative about me, right? Like it was, I can't tell you, I'm from Rexdale.
Yeah.
So you know where I'm from? I'm from Etobicoke. And then guess what? I stretched it a little bit. I said, I'm from North Etobicoke.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I went really all in on content where I'm like, no. I'm going to allow people to know everything about me. This way, they can make a decision if they actually really want to screw with me. You know what I mean? Like if they want to do business with me or if they want me on their podcast.
Got you.
Then I went the other way. All right. I'm from Rexdale. I don't know how to spell half the words that I say.
Same.
Okay. See, we connect.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? We're part of each other's tribe now, right?
Sure.
I barely passed high school, and I know why I passed high school. I spoke about it earlier because the teacher gave me, what is that thing called, Laura? Bell curve or something? They gave me it was a high bell curve, right? Like they really just passed me. You know what I mean? Probably get me out of their class. Some of them. Okay. I got sweaty hands. Like this is featured on podcasts in the last 12 months, number 152.
Absolutely.
So I'm not nervous. In fact, I love this, but hands are sweaty since I was a kid. I got a slight lazy eye sometimes. Doctors couldn't fix it. They told me that it was going to just work itself out. Right. So I went the other way.
Yeah.
I also said, you know what? I'm not that comfortable in a suit. Like I'm just not. I like wearing a hoodie. I like wearing a t-shirt. I like just wearing jeans and runners. Right. Yeah. And what started to happen is people like you started to come into my world, the ones that actually did connect with me. Gotcha. And I had to be okay with. And so for the people who are watching and listening, you got to be okay with the ones that you're going to lose. Yeah. Because the truth is you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Right. And I always say that like when you're going to meet new people, you're going to make phone calls. Some will, some won't. So what? It's just part of life.
I like that.
You know what I mean? The net will be a positive. So I lose 77 people. I really don't care because I gained another 92. Yeah. You know what I mean? 78, one extra person. Like I'm good with that. Right. Because then I'll continuously build it the right way from the ground up.
I like that. Now, you mentioned, you have sweaty hands and, and that was actually a podcast that you had with Gary Hibbert.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's someone that
big shout out to Gary Hibbert from the East.
I want you on the podcast too, sir.
So send me an email. I'm going to make the connection. Okay. Just send me an email when we're done this. I'll 100%. Gary I'll ask him to take the drive. I don't know if you do like virtual.
We can do virtuals as well.
Whatever. I'll just send me an email. I'll make the connection right away. Gary is an awesome guy.
Very.
Real Talk with Gary, I think.
Yes. I listen to a podcast as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
And, you mentioned that, okay, you have sweaty hands, lazy eye. You're from Rexdale now. And for those who are watching, even I guess myself, because I have flaws as well, right? Like how did you gain the confidence to embrace them?
I think it's just experience, right? I think confidence will always come from experience, right? And so as I got older anyways, it was like, I'm not having fun telling people I'm from Etobicoke. I'm not enjoying it. It's not the friggin' truth. Yeah. And then I started to have a team around me and they're like, Jas, like, why don't you talk more about where you're from? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, maybe I can try this. And then you try it, you get the experience of saying it, and people are like, dude, I'm from Rexdale too, man. Oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, oh my God, Jas, I've never told anybody about this. Wow. I've never told but you know what? When I did, it felt so freeing. Right. So you start to get that feedback and you're like, okay, I'll give you more of it. You know what I mean? Because it's the truth. Right. And I think what also kind of clicked in my head, I was like, when people met me, if they saw if they spent a lot of time with me, say they had like a 2-minute interaction with me at a cocktail party. Okay. And they didn't really know me. And they didn't know that I was from Rexdale or whatever. The next time we met, and if that conversation was 29 minutes, the Rexdale was going to come out. At some point, you know what I mean? And I don't mean necessarily with even an F-bomb here or there. No. Probably would have. It's just like, look, I don't know bell curve. I wasn't sure if that was the term. Like I got 77 of those in a day. Do you know how many times I got my phone and I'm typing something and whoever's next to me, I'm like, yes, how do you spell that? And he's like, Their. Like, there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but like sometimes my brain's moving too fast, right? Like, I think I just figured out the your, like YOU apostrophe. I feel confident now, and Elto helped with that, right? I feel very, very confident.
I love it. Yeah.
And so I think it just comes with experience. Like, I'm not telling you that you have to the person who's watching and listening, air out all your dirty laundry at once.
For sure.
That's what you want to call it. Or all your insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
But know this, for you to think that you're the only one with an insecurity is quite like where's the humility at? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone has them. I'm telling you, I speak to thousands of people. I interact with at least 15, 20, 30,000 people a year.
Wow.
Virtually, in person, like at least. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a lot of data now.
Yeah.
Everyone has insecurities.
Exactly.
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
Some are just really, really good at hiding them.
Yeah.
And the quicker that you can get it out, especially if you're in business, because the faster you can get it out in business, you are going to attract the right people and repel the wrong ones.
For sure.
And that's marketing 101.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of any marketing that you do, this is marketing, this podcast that you're going to send to your clients and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's to attract the right people and repel the wrong ones.
For sure.
And in sales, when you can take it, there's one more phase in that where you can get to only sorting and not convincing.
Mm-hmm.
I generally now, you can put me in a meeting with anyone about the two services that I speak about. I speak about helping people buy, sell, and invest.
Yep.
I speak about creating content, helping real estate agents and mortgage brokers create content.
Yep.
Within the first 14 seconds, I've already made a decision if this person's going to work with us or we're going to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the second I go into convincing mode, I know it's over. You know what I'm saying?
That's really true.
Excuse me. Now, depending on what product or service you have, you need to know those 3-4 questions and look for those clues. And that takes time. But I think where most people go wrong is they spend 67 minutes on trying to convince somebody to use them. Like, there's a much easier way to do this, which is just sort. Say, hey man, look, Laura, are you ready to do business right now? No, that's okay. Are we okay to stay in touch?
See, I'm learning. Yeah, I love it.
I'm saying?
For sure.
Yeah, like I got something for every single situation when it comes to sales.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, you don't want to stay in touch because your hubby's in real estate and you'll never use me, which is the truth. Which is the truth. You know what I'm saying? No problem, girl. That's okay. So then you move on. There's 6.6 million people in the Greater Toronto area. I want them all.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to get around to them. Yes, you ready to do business? Yeah, right now. Awesome. Here's how this works.
Gotcha.
No, you're not ready now. We can stay in touch. Awesome. I would love to get the opinion on some of the marketing I'm doing. Let me know if it's even bringing value, bro.
Yeah.
It's very, very simple, right? You just want to ask people, like, as a salesperson, real estate agent, mortgage broker, ask your clients for feedback.
Yep.
Right? Especially in today's day and age where we're producing a lot of content. And I said it to you off air really quickly. Man, DeAndre, if you just focus, brother, on your client base right now, and go depth with them and not worry about the width right now, you will have a completely different business in 12 months. I promise you. I don't say that word guarantee or whatever, but I will tell you that 100%.
Yeah.
If you do what you do this weekly, kudos. Because I did it weekly for a year and a half or something. I went to every 2 weeks because then we just added other stuff to our plate. But you do this weekly. If you send this to your clients like gospel, okay?
Yeah.
And you get on the phones every 3 months, every 4 months maximum.
Yeah.
And you just call Mary Jane and you say, Mary, can I get some feedback on that podcast that I did?
Yeah.
What's your opinion on, or what's your thoughts on more hosts? Because people want to be part of your journey.
Yeah.
Let them be part of your journey. Ask them those questions. And that happens by picking up the phones. It's not just hiding behind the emails, because that's easy to do.
Very easy to do. Now, one thing that, again, I want to talk about that from the ground up. because I do call you the king of real estate content, because it's amazing what
I appreciate
you're able
that.
to do.
I appreciate that, man. You know, like we're putting in a lot of work there.
Yeah.
And for people to start noticing it at the scale that they're noticing it, it just makes us feel good. It makes me feel good about my business partner, because she puts a lot of time into this, Laura Stewart, as well as the team behind us. I mean, these guys and gals cut so much content.
Yeah.
And when you're cutting content for other people like real estate agents and mortgage brokers, the insecurities come out, and then you have to deal with that and maybe reshoot it where they're used to me. No editing.
Yeah.
My cinematographer has the easiest job in the world. I friggin' love this guy, but he has the easiest job in the world because he knows keep the ums, keep the ahs, cut some of them. Like if it's a lot of ums and ahs, take some out.
Yeah.
But don't give me like, I don't need a lot of polished pieces, man.
Yeah.
The raw energy.
Yes.
Right? Yes. That's what he said. That's what he liked. Like, that's what people like me for. But ask me the question from the ground up.
No, for sure. So again, you've been in sales for 26 years, right? And I'm sure that content isn't what it was back then. So was that transition difficult for you to actually get into it?
Yeah, for sure. Like, look, I mean, at the rawest form, I think content is, you know, the written word, like books, webinars, in-person events. That's all content, right? For me though, I didn't know that was content. Like I didn't really, we've always done in-person events for the 17 years that we had a real estate team. What I didn't know is the magic of doing video. I didn't know that to be the secret sauce. I didn't even know that I should be doing it. Like I knew nothing, brother. For 20, so it's been 27 years actually, sales and service.
Okay.
For 24 of those years, I have fought uphill in every single meeting. Like everyone knows, like 97% of stuff I suck at. Legit. Okay. And we talked about it all. But 3%, which is like creating a lot of content at mass and sales, I think I'm all time, especially in sales.
Specialty.
Yeah. Like more like content. I think I have a huge journey still, right? Sales, my journey's not as big anymore. Like I learned stuff. I watch my protege, Luke, you know, I heard Laura on the phone. I hear my business partner, Seamus, on the phone. I might pick up on a little bit and mix match, like, but there's not a lot that you're going to teach me about sales. Okay. Because I have so much history in it. Right.
Yeah.
And in that time, for those 24 years, I've been going uphill.
Yeah.
Like actually sitting, and you need to speak to somebody for an hour and try to build your credibility and maybe bring out a deck and like a presentation deck or tell them about all the sales you did and all that kind of stuff. Here's a booklet. I've tried everything. I've done it all. I've done like a binder of testimonials and said, okay, here, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, just take a look at what everything my clients are saying. So I don't like all of it. And some of it worked really well and some it didn't. 3 years ago, though, I fell onto Gary V's content.
Yeah.
Okay. And I get like of late, there's a bunch of messages that I'm getting like, you know, this guy's like the Gary V of the Canadian Gary V and all that stuff. And at first I didn't know how I felt about it, to be honest with you, you know, but then I realized like, the truth is if there wasn't a Gary V, there wouldn't be a Jas Takhar.
And to cut you off, you interviewed him.
I did. And we'll definitely talk about that because that went to 2.0 in our content. I think it's safe to say. I'm just looking over at Elto because she was there as well. But the first phase was I heard the word podcast from him. And I never knew what a podcast was, right? So I was like, I Google it, I search it up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. You just speak into a mic, 24 years of sales on the phones. That's like when I worked at CIBC, I honed in on my phone skills. I was like, I got really good understanding, listening to people on the phone, but other people also resonated with me because they bought stuff on the phone with me.
Yeah.
I was selling cars on the phone, bro. Like I really took it to another level at one point. So I was like, okay, people can at least digest me in their ears. And I do apologize to your listeners. I was just coming off a little bit of a cough. So the voice is, I think it actually sounds sexier in my earphones, but they'll make that decision. They'll let us know. With the podcast. Oh, and I was, okay, it's free.
Yes.
Like you actually have upped the content game. Like with what you have, we started off with a $75 mic from Staples Blue Ivy, it was called.
Yes.
Okay. You know those ones with the little ball?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. $75 with a USB connection into a computer.
Yeah.
We had no idea how to how to upload this thing. So I was like, Laura, listen, I got the ideas on the content, but I need you to figure out how to upload this thing. She's like, what the heck are you talking about? I was like, I don't know. Figure it out.
Just upload stuff.
Luckily, she does have like the education's on a much higher level than Jas's. She knew, okay, I just got to do some research. MBA in marketing and branding. So researching is not something that, new to her or foreign to her. She researched it. She's like, I found this place called Anchor. I'm going to upload it. Oh. And she's like, we should have an intro to it. So she stole the intro off. We didn't even know we stole it, by the way. We didn't know that was a thing. We took it from somewhere, right? Just downloaded a file, put it up there, but there was no cost for it. It was just our time.
Yeah.
And what I really enjoyed about it was the fact that nobody controlled the messaging. It was my own narrative. I could talk about whatever I wanted. Anything I wanted, right? So we made our first 17 episodes, 17 to 18 episodes on all like how to buy, how to sell, how to invest, importance of mortgage brokers, all that kind of stuff. We sat back. I kind of got bored about just talking about real estate because I also realized there was more to me. Yeah. And this wasn't coming out yet. The hand moving, the energy, the passion. So I knew there was something that wasn't right yet, but the medium was perfect because I did not like the lens. I was not comfortable in front of the lens. Wow. So I was like, no lens is needed. This is a God's, and it truly is. Like, I got a 6-year-old and I got an 8-year-old. Okay, 2 boys. Wow. The podcast is my third child. Like, I love it because it gave me so much, right? The fact that I was able to create content and not be on the camera. Okay.
That's interesting.
Right? 100%. And so we then got, Laura was actually watching $1 Million Listing New York, and she's like, "Oh my God, wouldn't it be cool if we can get Ryan Serhant on it?" Yes. I was like, "Why, is this guy big or something?" Like, I didn't know the show. No, big shout out to Ryan. Like, the guy's huge now. I love him. But I'm just not a TV guy, right? Like, I'm a Netflix kind of guy. And I'm really sports, right? Yeah. And she's like, "Well, this show is awesome, and you've never seen it." I was like, "No." She's like, "Oh my God, it'd be so cool if we can get him on the podcast." I'm like, "Is he a real estate agent?" And she's like, "Yeah."
I don't know anything at all.
Nothing.
Wow.
But here's the funny thing. I asked her if he's a real estate agent, not because I cared if he was going to come on the podcast or not. Not like if he wasn't a real estate agent, I still would have had him on the podcast. But the reason I asked is because I was like, well, we'll just call him. And she's like, "What do you mean you're going to call him?" I was like, "Watch." So we Googled his office. I called and I said, "May I speak to Ryan Serhant?" And they're like, "What are you calling for?" I'm like, "I got a podcast. And I wanted to see if he would ever be on it." I was like, "Who am I speaking with?" And his name is Jordan. Big shout out to Jordan.
Shout out Jordan. I don't even know who you are, but shout out.
Assistant. I don't know if they're still together or not, like as the assistant. And he says, "Yeah, sure. You can do this podcast." I was like, "Great. Awesome. How's Tuesday at 2 p.m. or 11 a.m.? Still remember.
What?
Tuesday at 11 a.m. They're like, "Yeah, great." I was like, "Okay." We hung up the phone. And then I was like, "Laura, do you think they thought we were coming to New York?" She's like, "I don't know." So I called back. I said, "Sorry, I don't have your address." They're like, 123 Main Street, wherever in New York. I was like, "Oh, great." So they're okay with us coming. So it was happening. That was like a Thursday or Friday. We got a flight. Long story. Never got on the flight. The trains. There was like a storm coming in New York. It was in the middle of summer, by the way, but there was a storm coming.
What kind of storm is that?
It was really weird, man. Like some rainstorm or something. I don't know what the heck was going on. We ended up taking a Greyhound bus, never slept. Like, we didn't even sleep, went straight into his office, did the podcast, did the recording. She was the videographer for that shoot.
Great job, by the way. I watched that.
Did you? Okay. We make fun of her a lot about that one, especially Jas does now, because Jas has the cool cameras and stuff,
all the gadgets,
all the gadgets and stuff. It was the framing that sucked. And the only reason we put that on camera to bring everything into like a full circle is because it was Ryan Serhant. And the rest of the team was like, "Bro, you can't go see Ryan and not put it on video and all that." So we did. That's what started this machine, because I was like, "Oh, we can clip the videos," because not everything we spoke about was good or was like clippable. That's the word that we use now. So we took that 30-minute conversation. We took the audio out fed the iTunes.
Yep.
Okay. And if you actually watch that video, there's not one time that I make eye contact with the lens. Not once.
I never took it in, actually.
Yeah. Like I just know I didn't because I hated it so much. Right
Let me
now,
just make sure.
now, like we need more lens. Like I'm surprised there's not more. Laura's doing stories and Jas is doing his thing. But what we did is we took that video, clipped it, maybe 5 different like little clips.
Mhm.
At that time, we were doing like 2-minute clips. But now what we do is we put everything on video, and then we take the clips that we want to. Sometimes we just put up like a 12, 13-minute podcast episode because we don't need to put the full hour and a half or hour. Most of the time we do.
Yeah.
But sometimes we just put a smaller little piece on. But then we actually take the audio and put that on into a software, which you should use. It's called Trint, Trint.
Definitely.
Gives you everything in writing that we just said.
Yes, the transcript.
The transcript. Now you take
watch.
Now you take paragraphs and you put those on LinkedIn and on Facebook. You take 140 characters, put it on Twitter for a little tweet.
Yeah.
Screenshot that tweet, throw that back onto Instagram. One 30-minute recording should always feed you 15 to 18 pieces of content.
Wow.
It's not because if the content was good or not. It's just because you haven't went far enough to get all that content.
Wow.
One 30-minute conversation, 15 to 18 pieces of content all day long. I can tell you it in my sleep. I don't even need to hear the thing. I can just tell you, clip here, do this, because when you record it on video, that starts the magic of repurposing.
Yeah.
When we went to go see Gary Vee and sit with him and do the podcast, which was awesome. It was kind of full circle for me as well. Like the guy who told me, he said the word podcast. That's why I Googled it.
Yeah.
But he also was kind of a shield of like, put out your content, put out like, tell them about you.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was seeing in his content. And so finally to get to tell him, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
In fact, I only went to that podcast to tell him thanks.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
The
recording is great. I loved it. We had a great time. What I didn't expect, which turned out to be the real meat of what happened in New York that time, was that he said, go chill here in my office and make yourself at home. And that's when the Rexdale came out, because I was like, you know, I'm from Rexdale, buddy. Like,
what's going on in
I'm gonna make myself real at home. Like we started like exactly like a kitchenette you have here. We like there's cereal, there's food, and the team's coming up and they're all asking us like, hey, how can we help? We start asking questions to their videographers. He has like 1, 2, I think he had like 3 at that time. And they start telling us how they time code and timestamp stuff.
Oh, wow.
So you'll notice sometimes Jas is sitting in his chair right now. He like, if I said something, he took a picture of the timestamp on his viewfinder there, because now that tells him where to go later to go clip something.
Wow.
Got it? What we also realize is, they take that transcription, they throw it into what's called like what's known as like an infinite Trint now.
Yeah.
And at any time, you can pull out all the times that you said buy and hold and put a nice little mashup together.
Wow.
So if we want to make, let's just say for Laura's birthday, we want to make fun of her and do a burger video. Like now we caught her on tape on Saturday eating a burger, but all the times I said burger, I can pull it all out and Jas can go make a video on it. Every time I always get Jas's age wrong, 21, 22 or something like that. I call him just 22. But just all the nonsense that sometimes I say, like they can pull all that out. That's where that came from.
That's amazing.
Time stamping and time coding, right?
Wow.
And so content creation has been by far, other than having like a database and making sure that we stay in touch with them,
for sure.
Content creation has been the secret sauce to my success in the last 3 years. Hands down.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So like, what is your ultimate goal now to actually, like, where do you see in the next 3 years, from the ground up? Like,
well, I think from the ground up, I don't think I mentioned like how all that started. Like real estate agents in my office started asking like, hey man, can I use Jas? Can I use, I had another videographer and like he's now on the from the ground up team. Jas is like my personal guy.
Yeah.
But hey, can I use Steven to do the graphics? And I'm like, I'm not selfish. I could care less, but they don't have the time. Like I'm doing at that time, probably 15 to 18 pieces of content a day. And I'm like, that's not enough.
Yeah.
Because I learned it from Gary Vee. Gary's like, do 50. I'm like, all right, bro, I'm going to do 50. You told me to do 1 and it's working. Like now you're telling me to do 50. All right. I guess I'm going to like go after this. Right. But I got asked so many times and Laura got asked, like she's going to the bathroom and all the girls are asking her, that's where they're doing their chit chatting. And she keeps coming back and telling me, I'm like, really, I got that too. Like that's what agents are asking me.
Yeah.
Having that entrepreneurial spirit, we kept on getting slapped in the face with the same question. We're like, all right, why don't we try this? Let's do this for one agent. Did it for one agent. We're like, all right, we can, quote unquote upscale this. Like we can do it for another one. And one of the agents was on my team out of the 54 and the other agent wasn't. So it was nice to kind of do it for both different people in that sense. And now I'm proud to say we've been doing this for 10 months. And we have anywhere from about 25, 28 real estate agents and mortgage brokers consistently using our service to produce the short form videos and educational webinars. I really think the real value that an agent and a mortgage broker can get, this is not a testimonial or an infomercial, from the ground up. You can do this stuff on your own. My boy here is doing it by himself. Like,
I appreciate it.
You get what I'm saying? Like, you don't need us, right? In fact, we gave away everything for free anyways. We taught people how to do it. They just don't want to do it on their own. The real value as a real estate agent and a mortgage broker, like if you want like a quick return, is doing webinars. Educational ones though. Absolutely. Where you're not talking about me, buy from me, sell from me. Look at all my just listed and just solds in the last week. Not that garbage. The stuff like, hey, here's 5 things that you need to know about selling your property. And for that, I have my boy DeAndre here to speak about those 5 things. And then we do a conversation like this. You bring on a mortgage broker. Hey, what's the best way to refinance a home? Why? What is refinancing?
HELOC. What is that?
What is a HELOC? You know what I mean? Then you bring on maybe like your broker and talk about the fact that he or she's been in the business for 17, 20 years or whatever it is. And what's the differences they've seen in the marketplace when interest rates go up, because that's going. So then you take that and you send that to your clients.
I love that. Now, that's a lot of gems. That's a lot of gems. And I appreciate that. And, time is definitely of the essence, but you are a real estate agent. And I guess it wouldn't be, a proper podcast without asking you, one real estate question.
Sure. I forget that sometimes.
So again, I have like a amount of questions. However, the market has slowed down slightly and a lot of people are, I guess, in a limbo. So I'm always curious to know, like, how do you answer this question when people say the market is going to crash in the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, look, I mean, I start off by saying that I personally left my crystal ball at home.
I love it.
Like, I really don't know. And the person who's asking it, because here's the thing, major economists, they have no friggin' clue themselves, right? And so here's what I will tell you though, okay? Now, when I get asked the question, I usually get the question about how's the market? And then I answer that by saying, what market are you talking about? Because in the greater Toronto area, and for your out of province and out of country listeners, I mean, that's a 50-mile/75-kilometer radius, okay? So in that greater Toronto area, we have probably 1,000, if not more, like literally, I'm not exaggerating, 1,000 submarkets. The Rexdale condo market is completely different than the Brampton semi-detached home market. The Brampton semi-detached home market is completely different than the Oshawa townhome market. Townhomes in Oakville are completely, you know what I mean? So there's all these submarkets. In downtown Toronto, there's probably 100. Bay Street's completely different than the Harbourfront. Harbourfront's completely different than the Distillery District, right? So that's where I start. In terms of the market crashing, here's my educated opinion or educated guess, okay, is that I think we're going to have a soft landing, meaning, okay, values in the last year, let's take the last year. They increased by 23%.
Which is outrageous.
Okay. As a broker, first and foremost, before being a broker, I'm an investor. Like real estate for me was always about investing. Like I got into the biz. I thought I was getting my license because they were going to teach me how to invest. Like I didn't even know, right? So I know how much more of an investor I am before a broker. Now I got to educate people because I have a lot of clients and all that kind of stuff. That the market going up 23%, let's just say we only see 10% increase in 2022. The headlines are going to say the market's down by 50%. Right? But we just saw the highest increase of all time.
Yeah.
We've never seen this before. Okay. But now if the market's increasing, and this is what the people at home need to think about. If the market's increasing at 10%, that's amazing.
That's still a great,
right? But let's actually, and why is that still amazing? Because cold hard facts, this is not crystal ball stuff. Look at the last 40 years in real estate. Take out the past 2 years of 20% increases. Okay. So now looking at a 40-year window, pre-pandemic, pre-lockdown, because I want to think that the last 2 years were outliers.
Okay.
You take 40 years, 7.3% year-over-year increase on average.
That's beautiful.
So 10%, I mean, you're still above that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Personally, I would like to see 5-6%.
Oh, really?
Because it's slow and steady. And we as kids, we know the tortoise and the right. We know who wins the race.
Absolutely.
Right. And then you don't have these massive increases because anything that goes up must come down. Right. We know that as well. But GTA has been somewhat protected of that within the country. Like when you compare us to the Albertas, for example, because like the Alberta economy and the real estate market actually is based on what happens with oil and what happens with the forest industry, like all of that. We're here in the GTA, we're very service oriented.
Yeah.
Toronto, we manufacture nothing. Right? It's our restaurants. It's our healthcare. It's the fact that we have some of the best universities in the country. It's the fact that all the 5 major banks and Bay Street and all that stuff is here. Right. And because of that, and obviously the restaurants as well, because of that, and because of the fact that we don't manufacture anything, you don't see a lot of up and down.
Yeah.
Like, peaks and valleys. Okay. But the last 2 years you did.
Yeah.
I just don't think the market is going to crash. I think we're going to see a soft landing. And it's already started, to your point.
Yes.
Okay. And the real way that I base that on is because for me, the most important real estate stat, drop me anywhere in the world and I'll tell you what type of market we're in. Bless you.
Bless you.
The what type of market we're in. And that's based on months of inventory.
Yes.
And that's the stat I'm looking at always, because for the last year, just want to make sure I'm okay. Say 12, 16 months. Okay. We've been in a super, super intense seller's market. 2 weeks of inventory. Bro, one of these months, I got to go back and check. I saw a week of inventory in Brampton.
That's crazy.
Okay. So that's super intense seller's market. Stats came out 2, 3, 4 days ago. We're looking at 1 month of inventory in the GTA.
Yeah.
So from 2 weeks to a month. So we're starting to see the shift. Yeah. We're nowhere near a buyer's market. For anybody who's listening who doesn't know the difference, it's seller's market is 0 to 3 months. Balance market is 3.5 months to 5.5 months. And then you're in a buyer's market if you're 5.5 months and more. We're still very far away from that. I will be shocked if we get into like a true buyer's market anytime soon. And I mean anytime soon in the next 2-3 years. And the reason I say that is because I also know that there's 1.5 million people coming to the country in the next 3 years, which spells 750,000 people to the GTA. Wow. 50% of people that come into our country come to the GTA. So like when you actually know the stats and you're not just reading the headlines, I get that. Look, I mean, the newspaper's jobs and now online, it's free to click, right? Like I always say that if it bleeds, it leads, right? And if they talk to you about us, it's going to be a beautiful sunny day tomorrow, you ain't touching that paper. The second they say that there's a storm coming, we all pick up that paper because we want to find out what's going on, right? So when they say the real estate market is down by 50%. It's not even like sometimes they just say that and they're just talking about the sales. But everybody who picks it up, they're like, oh my God, I bought a house for $1 million. That means my house is now worth 500,000. It's like, whoa, breathe. That's not what they're trying to say here, right? So you got to dive in a little bit more. And the best way, in my opinion, to do that is to actually look at cold hard facts. Yeah, the numbers. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, time has been far spent. And I want to, again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know that the listeners were able to learn and get to know you more. Do you have any socials, anything that you want to promote? I'm everywhere. I have nothing to promote. I appreciate that, Andre. I mean, like there's nothing for me to promote. I think, look, the best way to get a hold of me is to just Google my name.
Yeah.
Google Jas, Jas, Takhar, Takhar. You figure out how you want to consume me. Like, you want to see video, there's tons of that. You want to see audio, there's tons of that. Written word, my blogs, all that kind of stuff. But I just really want to say how much I appreciate you having me on, man. And you watching the content and telling me about it. Like, it's really cool because, you know this, right? More than anyone. Like, you do these podcasts, you don't see anyone on the other side.
Yeah.
You don't know if people, like, you think about them, like that guy's watching, that girl's listening kind of thing. But until somebody actually tells you, you don't really get that instant gratification that you do from a like on Instagram or something, right? So to know that you've been watching the content for as long as you have, that really, really means a lot. And a big shout out to your wife, Janelle.
Yes, because for a quick story. So I got a message from someone on your team about, having you on. And because to me, you're like big time. I'm like, what? How you don't have time for me? So I thought you were a scam. I thought that person was a scam. So I told my wife, and she's like, you know what? Let's DM him personally. And then when you answered, she was like, you're good to go. So I was like, yes, I'm excited, good to go. So shout out to Janelle for, again,
making that connection.
Investigation for sure.
But and that's just so cool to hear, man, because you know this more than anyone. Again, like, I'm just a kid from Rexdale, like you are as well. And to get that type of feeling and feedback and energy and frequency, it's really cool, man. It really, really is. So I hope I brought some value to the people who are watching and listening today.
Most definitely. Well, thank you again for tuning into the DHomer Real Estate Podcast. You can listen on all streaming platforms. Follow the podcast on social media at the DHomer Real Estate Podcast, and follow me at DHomer Real Estate. All right. Thank you and take care.